everyone, good evening. You are watching The Money Show, where we are a bit in advance celebrating Father's Day. Father's Day, remember, is on 16th June, and the day is dedicated to all the unsung heroes out there quietly doing their work, fulfilling their responsibilities, asking very little in return. So ladies and gentlemen, this show is dedicated for all the fathers out there, and of course for all the sons and daughters. This is your chance to gift your father something worthwhile, not another wallet or a watch or a perfume, but instead something that will help secure their financial future. How to do that? Well, that's why we are here for you on The Money Show, to help you answer that question. And today, joining in on the show, we have a very special guest with us. Right here in our studios, we have Kalpesh Ashar of Full Circle Financial Planners and Advisors. Kalpesh, thank you so much. Firstly, are you a father?
Of course, I'm a father of two.
Well, on that note, wish you as well a very, very happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
And I think let's start off first with a subject that I think a lot of people out there would be tackling with, and that is, if any of the men out there have just become fathers, that means their responsibilities are only beginning, right from the general care of the baby, to school, to education, to higher education, marriage, and then just saving for the future. So it's a long line of responsibilities ahead for the father. So what would you recommend how they should go about kickstarting their financial journey?
Okay, so I think I'll probably go one step beyond that.
Okay.
In fact, before that.
Okay.
So what I would like to delve in is the fathers to be. Okay. So obviously, when a young couple is married, they're looking forward to this great event of an addition to the family.
Right.
And when the great news breaks, I think it's a very positive shock, I would say, to the mindset of an individual. And it's very interesting to, in fact, delve into the mindset of a father to be. You know, that apart from him being an individual, a professional, a husband, he's now all of a sudden going to be a responsible person, because he's going to be a so-called father. And once that comes in, I think there's a lot of change you see in that individual. And it's a part and process. All of us have gone through it. But I think the most important thing here is that although you've been, got this great good news for your family, for yourself, I think once that emotion has overcome, you better start thinking about the reality. And the reality is on the financial ground and the non-financial ground. So just the psychological part here is that although you are going to be a father, and obviously the finances are going to be your core responsibility, but do not forget that this moment in life is a very special one. Not for you, and obviously much more for your spouse. So you will have to strike a work-spouse balance, I would say. You know, we've all heard about work-life balance. I would like to say about a work-spouse balance, because at this point of time, your spouse needs you the most. Now, how you balance that between your work and giving adequate time to your spouse emotionally, socially, it has to be balanced. Once that bridge is crossed, I think the other thing is not to overthink, because like many other things in life, what you need to do here is keep a very calm and a composed mind, and not to get swayed by all the other things which would come on the way. So for that, now once you are in the process of being a father, or you have become the father of a kid, I think the most important thing, without I think mincing words, apart from anything, is insurance. And you cannot undermine the importance of insurance, because that is protection. And when I say protection, I am calling it a pure vanilla product, which is a term insurance which protects you and your family. In fact, more your family if you're not there, and the health insurance aspect. Because these two things are going to give a protection to your family while you are there, and God forbid if some eventuality has to happen. So ensure first that you are adequately covered through a term plan, and the health insurance cover, in fact, for you and your spouse, is very adequate. I think the next step which we go forward here is that, when you come to the hardcore financials, when you are planning, and I would say the nerve center of your financial planning, we are financial planners, we talk about is your cash flow. And in case if your spouse, she had been working, and obviously she'll be taking a maternity break, there will be some type of a balancing you'll have to do in the cash flow. There might be a intermission, in your journey, where you'll have to relook at things. And again, work out the cash flow in such a way that there's not a single break in your SIPs or in your insurance premium, and your lifestyle is moving on at the same way. So do a rejig of your cash flow and accordingly take a call moving ahead.
Okay, all right. So insurance, as well as once again reassessing how there are going to be changes to your daily income, or rather your annual income, now that there's been a new addition in the family. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, for all the questions, inquiries that you may have as new fathers, as children of fathers, or rather as kids, and you want to gift your father an SIP or a mutual fund to secure his financial future, send in your questions and queries. The number will appear on the top of your screens in just a bit. You can join in live right now, and Kalpesh will be here to answer your questions and queries on how you can go about handling your finances, your mutual fund portfolios, among many other things. So let's just get straight into the email queries that we have received first. Subramaniam Natraj has sent a question saying that I had invested more than 8 lakh rupees in the ABSL Dynamic Bond Fund Retail iDirect plan. It has a quarterly dividend payout. The performance of the scheme has been poor for the last 3 years. The investment in the scheme is since April 2012, and the total market value is also less by 84,000. What should I do? Should I wait for some more time? Well, firstly, I think it's a quarterly dividend payout. Kalpesh, from what I understand, dividend payout schemes sometimes are not the most efficient way to go about. And also, secondly, would you recommend that he stays when it comes to his mutual fund?
See, I think going a bit deeper into this, he's been invested in this particular fund from April 2012.
That's right.
Now, it's been a good 7 years since he's been invested in that too, in this debt fund. Now, ABSL Dynamic Bond Fund per se, if you see the track record of this fund from the period 2012 to 2000, I would say 15-16, it was one of the outperformers, and that was due to the prime reason that the fund manager had taken calls on the duration and long duration products. And obviously, we were in that phase when the interest rates were falling. So obviously, we have the inverse relationship where the fund would benefit. Now, after that, it went through a very, very lean patch, and I would say the lean patch continues. And what has happened is the fund manager, the fund name is Dynamic Bond, but I don't think it has stayed true to that name. And the fund manager has continued the investments in the long duration products, whereas the interest rates that time were not giving any indication from 16 to at least 18, 19 of coming down. So that had an adverse effect on this fund. And the fund has been a rank underperformer for the last 3 years. Now, in this particular case of Mr. Subramaniam, I would suggest 2 things. I think because he's been invested for a very long time, surely the returns are going to be good now, even in spite of the 3 years of underperformance. Okay. So he can now take a call in the debt fund category and shift to same fund family of Birla, but he can shift to the ABSL corporate bond fund, which has got a shorter duration, it has got a better rated portfolio, and more importantly here, now he can take a call with investments which are going to be in a linear fashion. There's not going to be any dynamic things about it. So that's one. And as like what you said rightly, Mubina, a quarterly dividend payout, or in fact dividend payout, is not very lucrative when it comes to mutual funds, because here now you have the SWP option. Yeah. So you can always look at that and go for the growth option and take the SWP.
Okay, very quickly, let's bring on board the phoners that we're getting. Phone lines have been ringing off the hook, so let's just get to that. Ravindranath Saxena from Mumbai joins in on the phone line. Hi, Ravindranath. Good evening. Thank you for calling in. What's your question?
Yeah, I'm Ravindranath Saxena. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I am a retired government officer and having pension and consultancy income.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am retired government officer having pension and
consultancy income. That's right, sir.
Consultancy income.
Okay.
I have got one son and one daughter. They are happily settled in life and married. I have got some investable funds with me. How to invest those funds where taxation issues are minimal and returns are great? Kindly guide me about what are the schemes, bonds, or mutual funds.
Kalpesh, any follow-up questions, like for example, if he needs the money or anything?
Yeah, so just one particular thing. Mr. Ravindra, are you really worried about your regular flow of income, or is that taken care of?
No, I am having regular income, so there is no issue of anything at all.
And you said you are, already having some income coming through pension and consultancy. That's your source, right?
Yes, correct. So I am not worried about my income.
And last question, just a lead up before I answer is, do you have any exposure to equity mutual funds or direct equity?
Yes, I am having exposure of 36.
Okay, fine. So here what I would suggest, sir, is that, you are looking at two things when you are in a senior citizen phase, that and you have got everything settled down, thank God for that. So what I would suggest here is that you should actually look at for the debt components two things. One is, although it is taxable, you should surely look at the senior citizen savings scheme by the government, and because that gives you an 8.7% quarterly payout, albeit it is taxable, but that is one of the most secure ways of keeping at least 15 lakh rupees which you might be having in your corpus as the debt fixed income category. In the fixed income category, then the best option is to get into debt funds, because here the debt funds which you choose are going to give you a tax benefit which you are looking for. After 3 years, you get just a 20% with indexation benefit, which is much better than keeping your money in a conservative FD or something like that. So once you allocate your money in the debt components here and in the debt funds, I would suggest just look at their time horizon, the duration of not more than 3 years. So look at that. Don't go in for any long-term duration funds or bond funds and all those things. Look at the ultra short category, the short category. That's about it. I think your job will be done if you stay invested for 3 to 5 years. As far as the equity component goes, do not neglect it, because nowadays the lifespan of individuals has increased and you need to have a sufficient exposure to equities. I would say at this age, even there's no harm in keeping a 30-40% exposure to equities if you have regular income. So I think that should stand you in good stead, and keep some corpus if you don't have already for your health requirements, if you are not covered adequately through health insurance. So keep a separate fund for that, completely at your beck and call.
Okay, all right. Ravindranath ji, I hope your question has been answered completely and holistically by Kalpesh. Let's very quickly move on and bring on board our next question. Ganesh is calling in from Nicobar. Hi Ganesh, what's your question?
Ma'am, I have one daughter and I want to collect 50 lakh rupees after 15 years.
50 lakh rupees in the next 15 years, is that right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have do you have any existing mutual funds or any other investments?
Yes, ma'am. I am investing in for 5,000 rupees per month, and Axis Blue Chip Fund for 5,000.
That's also 5,000, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think it's two mutual funds, the HDFC and Axis Blue Chip 5,000. Firstly, Kalpesh, I don't think that was sufficient to reach that 50 lakh rupee goal for in the next 15 years. And secondly, where else would you advise him to put his money?
See, the good thing is that at least he's giving himself time.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to happen, and he's looking at equity mutual funds, so that makes the job easier for him and for the advisor. So here I would simply say that, if you were even to invest an amount of say 10,000 rupees for a period of say 20 years, it would get you to a crore at a compounding rate of 12% CAGR. Now you need to understand that here in this phase you do not need to have any type of breakages of SIP or something. It has to be a continuous process, and invest your money in not more than just, I would say, 3 schemes. You can take a good large cap, you can take a multi cap and a mid or a small cap. That should do the job for you. So if you're investing in Axis Blue Chip, that's a good one. And if you're investing the other HDFC, I didn't get the name of the scheme, but I would suggest here a good multi cap fund. You could go in for the SBI focused equity fund, and in the small cap category, you could look at the SBI small cap fund. So I think a mix of this over a long period of time should stand you in good stead for your daughter.
Okay, you know what? We'll just have to take a quick breather right here on the show. In fact, our phone lines are still ringing. I request all the gentlemen who have been patched through to just stay on. Commercial obligations, quick break right here on the show. We'll do come right back. back. You're watching The Money Show, where we are celebrating Father's Day special right here with Kalpesh Ashar in our studios. And our phone lines are ringing off the hook. So without any further ado, let's bring on board our next question. Anil Kumar from Hyderabad is joining in on the phone line. Hi, Anil. Good evening. What's your question?
Yeah, hi ma'am. Hi madam. Good evening. Very good evening.
Yes, Anil. What's your question?
Ma'am, see, actually, I have invested 20 lakhs in HDFC Balance Fund
Okay.
and 2 lakhs in L&T Emerging Business Fund and 12 lakhs in S-Bank shares, which is 174 was the average rate.
In Yes Bank shares. Okay, all right.
Yes, Bank. So that was recently plotted from my side in a span of 1 month, with average of 174. Amount was 12 lakhs.
174. Okay.
And
So,
the HDFC Balance Fund was 20 lakhs and L&T Emerging Business Fund was 2 lakhs. Investments were all almost a 1.5 year old.
okay, all right. Anil, how do you have any objective, any goal that you would like to achieve?
Yeah. See, ma'am, goal. I have invested this.
I think, yeah, then the line has been snapped, perils of live television. But yeah, prima facie, if you look at it, it's quite a big exposure to equities. Though, of course, we're not aware of his entire portfolio. But yeah, any chops and changes very quickly? If you
How much is the invested amount
so
in
there's,
balance?
There's 20 lakhs invested in the HDFC Balance and 2 lakhs in an L&T Emerging Market Fund.
Okay, so I think the HDFC Balanced Advantage Fund is a hybrid category fund. And I do not know whether he's invested this money as a lump sum or he's done it in a staggered manner. And I think that's, if you have this much of exposure to one particular scheme, I would prefer there is little bit of diversification, because otherwise you're just, confined to the perils of one particular scheme. Not that the scheme is bad, it's a good scheme, but I would always suggest diversification. So in case if he can, still, look at splitting this amount between a large cap balanced fund or a multi cap and a balance, that would give a good blend to the portfolio, because the amount concentrated in one particular scheme is too large. Secondly, if he's accumulating this money with a long-term goal, better for him. I don't think you should get into equity. We didn't hear the full question, but you don't get into equity for anything which is below 3 to 5 years for sure. We do not advise our clients at all if they have any goal coming up in the next 3 to 5 years. So please look at a long-term horizon and get going.
Okay, long term, that's the very, very crucial point that, that Kalpesh and in fact every personal finance expert would advise that you should look into equities only if you're going to invest for the long term. Okay, I think let's just address one email query very quickly. Sachin Gupta says, I have invested 3 mutual funds in the last 5 years, SBI Equity Hybrid, HDFC Equity Hybrid and IDFC Multi-Cap, 17 lakh, 7 lakh, 3 lakh respectively. He wants money for the education of his daughter in 5-6 years, for the marriage in 10 years. He wants to know if he must invest the money in any other funds to achieve the target, and will he have to invest more? Roughly, I think his requirement is almost of more than 1 crore over the next 5 to 10 years. Yep. What would you say, Kalpesh?
So I would suggest here that, again, time is on your side. So that's a good thing to happen for you. And you've already accumulated a good corpus for some of the goals which you have. So if I were just to bifurcate the goals, I would say for a goal of education, which you've earmarked 30 lakh, and coming up in the next 5-6 years, if the existing amount of 17 lakh is kept and you have a 12% CAGR in the next 5 to 6 years, you should be closer to your 29-30 lakh goal here. But for your other goal, which is a goal of the marriage for the daughter, which is a good 10 years away, and you wish to have a 75 lakh corpus, I hope it's the future value, because generally people, have the inflation not taken into consideration. So please take that into consideration. But that if you need to do, I would suggest that apart from the 10 lakh, which is already kept for that goal from the 2 funds, you need to do an SIP of 20,000 rupees more to get you to that goal in the next 10 years. And we presume that the equities returns are a good 12% CAGR.
75 lakhs for marriage, Kalpesh.
I was actually, good you pointed out. I feel the target should be reversed. And if that is, everyone's personal choice, but I would always spend more money on my kids' education rather than on their marriage.
Well, most certainly. I mean, it always makes sense to invest on your child as opposed to your child's husband or wife, frankly, because that's essentially what...
Well, that's a very good point you brought up, Mubina.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that is, of course, Kalpesh answering all questions and queries from viewers. We're just going to take a bit of a breather, Kalpesh, and let's talk about some of the common mistakes, as you were telling me, with respect to child plans, which sometimes parents or fathers tend to get a bit muddled up. So what are the common mistakes, perhaps, that fathers make when it comes to finances?
See, now this is a certain type of a mindset or a myth I would like to talk about, that all the financial products, be it an insurance policy or some mutual funds or whatever you have, they come out with, all the words like, child policies, child plans. Now, these are nothing but just emotional, I would say, pulls. And looking at that, I think you should not get into those products without understanding what is the underlying security. So in that case, if you have an equity which is projected as a child plan for your future, fair enough. But you should understand what is the underlying security in which you're investing, in which the product is investing. So just don't go by the emotional, I think, advertisements which we see around us. That is part one of the thing. And the second thing is that if you're looking at projecting or having a return of, investment for the long term, be it your child's education, and if you start planning from, 1 or 2 years of the child's age and give it a good 15, 16 years, I think equity is the best vehicle you can get into. And as responsible fathers, the third point I would like to make is, in fact, for your, not even father, for your family, is create a will. Because if you do not have a will, it may sound very mundane, it may sound very, simple, but people do not do it. And when you can even talk to your parents, I know it's a difficult subject to talk to your parents if they've not created a will, but it creates a lot of problems if it is not there. And all the money which is, intended to be given to the right persons doesn't reach the right hands.
Some very important tips coming in there from Kalpesh Ashar, one of them being don't fall prey to the child insurance plans. Equities is the way to go, and of course creating a will is very, very important to also avoid any sort of future discord, frankly. On that note, Kalpesh, thank you for joining in and very patiently answering all those questions and queries. We'll wrap it up right here on The Money Show. Thanks for watching from me and the entire team that put the show together. Once again, wishing you all a very happy Father's Day.